Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if this is your first time watching, then welcome. Today I'm going to be doing something a little different from my usual. I had a request from a subscriber to make a video talking about my favourite eye brushes, and I decided to take a little bit further than that and chuck in some face brushes that I love too, because I figured might as well, and some of them actually come from the same sets, so I thought I'd include those as well. Some of them are a bit dirty because, as you can see, I've done my makeup today. I just filmed a video for this look. So if you like the look of this nice natural everyday look, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can see that video when it comes out. But let's just get on into this video and we'll talk about some lovely makeup brushes. So most of my brushes that I have, I bought in sets because I don't know why. I just think that you get a better deal when you buy in sets. But I have bought a few individual brushes that I really like the look of or that were recommended to me. I'm going to start with the very first brush set that I ever bought. I don't use many of the brushes from this set. I use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 from this set that I use regularly. It is the Coastal Scents 22-piece set. That was my very first brush set I ever bought back when I was studying, and I didn't have much money, but I really wanted to increase my, size of my brush collection, which at that point I only had like 4 different brushes. This is a really good starting point for anyone who is just beginning and they don't want to spend too much money but they still want to get like a decent product. I'd seen a lot of stuff about Coastal Scents on YouTube. This was back in, I think, 2014 that I bought these brushes, so I've had them for 6 years, which is really crazy. Like, time is flying so fast now that I'm an adult. Like, it really freaks me out. I kind of have some like little crises about that. I'm like, what the hell? But it came in this really cool brush, like roll, which I keep all of my brushes in to this day. They don't all fit, but I just kind of shove them in there. And so these are the 5 brushes that I use regularly. I do still use some of them. A lot of my brushes I put into storage because I don't use them, but I don't have the heart to chuck them out. So these 5 brushes here, and I'll go over them a little bit more as well. Okay, so this is the number 11 brush from Coastal Scents, and this is like a domed crease brush. The bristles are quite short, so it's really good for getting in there and applying your darkest crease color to, because it's going to get right in where you need it, nice and defined, but it's still like fluffy enough that it's not going to be too defined, because you don't want it to be too defined, but you do want to keep it in the right spot. So that's a brush that I use often. Then we have the number 12. So this is the number 12 Coastal Scents brush. This is also a domed crease brush, so it's very similar to the other brush. I will compare the two. So very similar, although you can see on the number 12 that it's a little bit longer and a little bit fluffier. So same deal, good for applying shadows into the crease or into your outer third, or even under the eye. I like to use these brushes for, but the number 12 is just going to make it that little bit more blended and less defined than the number 11. Then we have the number 13, which is an all over shader brush. So this is good for doing all over your eyelid. If you can see what I've got on here, that will be really good for applying the shimmer shade there. Then we have the number 14 and 15. So it's quite funny. I really like the 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is the 14 and the 15. The 14 is the larger brush and the 15 is the smaller one. The number 15, the small one, is actually a lip brush. I only just found that out while I was doing research. But I always use these 2 brushes for doing, say, the inner corner highlight, the brow bone highlight, or if I'm doing a more artistic look or I'm doing things with like more detail, then I'll use these to get like color just in the right spots. So these 2 brushes I actually use so much. That's why you can see that one's a bit broken. Still does the job really nicely, and I've been using these brushes for 6 years, like I said, and they're still perfect condition. I haven't had any loss of hair I guess, I think that's what you call it. Yeah, I haven't had any of these brushes shed on me. Some of the larger face brushes have, and I think that's why I don't like them as much. These brushes are also made from natural fibers. I did look into it and I couldn't find out what fibers they are, which I think is quite strange. They should definitely, you know, tell you that, especially, you know, for if you were allergic or something. So something to be mindful of is that they are natural hair, but we're not sure of the origin of the hair. So the set of 22 brushes you can get off the Coastal Scents website. It'll cost you $35 US, which I think is a really good deal because you get pretty much everything that you need and a cute little carry case for them as well. So those are my Coastal Scents brushes. The next brushes I'm going to be talking about are my brushes from NYX. Now, I got these in my kit when I was at makeup school, and some of them I really like and some of them I don't like as much. So I have a few that I regularly use. So one that I use all the time is this number 2 NYX brush. It's like an all over face powder brush, which I use for my powdered foundation on the rest of my face and the parts where I haven't highlighted. Then we have the number 8 NYX brush, which is a similar brush, but it's more defined and like tightly packed, and it's circular. So if you can see, that's circular, and then that is more like oval, so like flat. So the number 2 brushes also can be good for doing your bronzer, something a little bit more defined than just like an all over powder brush. And then the number 8 brush, which is the round one, I like to use to apply my blush. So I'll like dab it on and then I'll kind of blend it in little circular motions. The other NYX brush that I really like is the number 16 fluffy blending brush, and that is self-explanatory really. It's not my favorite blending brush. I definitely have others that I prefer, but this is always one that I reach for when I've run out, or you know, once I've made the other brushes dirty, I'll always use this one. The NYX brushes are made from synthetic fibers, so they are vegan, cruelty free, but they're very, very soft and fluffy. That's why I really love these brushes. I hate brushes that feel, you know, like wiry and hard and scratchy, but these are very soft, and you can get them for about $10 per brush. In New Zealand you'll pay a bit more, but I can't find these exact brushes on, you know, on a New Zealand website. So yeah, in America they're about 10 bucks per brush, which I think is really good because sometimes I will spend upwards of $20 on a brush. So yeah, those are my NYX brushes. Okay, so the next brushes that I'm going to be talking about are my absolute favorite brushes in the whole entire world. I would happily buy several more sets of these brushes. So these are my Zoeva Rose Golden Volume 2 eye set. As you can see, I've used some of them because they are so amazing. They're the first brushes I always reach for every single time. It comes as a set of 10, and there are 9 that I use constantly. There's one that I don't use ever at all. I hate it. There might be someone else who loves it, but yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they don't like this brush. So the one brush that I don't like is this spot liner brush, and the reason I don't like it is because it's very scratchy, and because the bristles are so short, you end up touching the metal to your eye, and it's not comfortable. I don't like it. The only time that I'll ever use this brush is if I get some lash glue stuck to my eyelid. I'll just use it to flick it off or scratch it off, because that's how hard and stiff it is. So yeah, I'm not even going to bother talking about that one anymore. The brushes that I do love and would highly recommend that you purchase is we've got the 142 Concealer Buffer. As you can see, it's a nice densely packed concealer buffing brush. It's really soft, and I find it really good for blending out the concealer after I've carved out my eyebrows. That's my number one use for it. I also use it in between my eyebrows to kind of blend the edges of my brows out to make them, you know, not so blocky. I find that really good for that, and I sometimes also apply my eyeshadow base with this. I'll also use it to pop concealer on any blemishes that I have. Just find that that gets the... I just find that it gets the best application for that type of product. So like when I'm using a cream concealer, whereas if I use a liquid concealer, I'll use a sponge. So this one is really good for cream concealers and for those other uses that I just said. I'm not going to repeat myself. I'm trying to make this video as short as possible, but there are quite a lot of brushes and I'm not sure how in detail I should get, so I might as well just go all in. Another brush that I used to use a lot, and I don't really use it anymore, but I do really love it and I think it's good for beginners, is the 322 brow line. And the reason I like this brush so much is because it's nice and, you know, wide, so it helps you keep a straight line when you're doing your brows. So I found it really good. I'll actually zoom in for this part. So along the bottom of the eyebrow, it gets it nice and straight and out into the wing of the brow, and then this is the best use, I reckon, for this brush. Yeah, so you bring it around, and then the tip of the brush gives it that nice round corner, and it gives it a nice clean line as opposed to it being all bumpy. So if you're a beginner and you want to do nice defined brows, I would highly recommend that brush. Then we have, I'm just going to do all of these ones together, 221, the 227 and the 228. These are all fluffy blending brushes, and the thing that I love about these brushes is they are literally the softest brushes I've ever touched. These are a blend of natural and synthetic fibers. So the natural fibers come from goats, so it's a blend of goat hair which is combed or shaved off of the goat. So they are cruelty free, but they're not vegan. I don't know why, but yeah, they're just so amazing. If you even just lightly touch the eyeshadow and do some little circular motions, it really helps give you a really nice blend. It's the best blend I've ever, been able to get using these brushes. So yeah, there's those. Then we have the 230 brush and the 231. So we've got the domed crease brush, which, like I said with the Coastal Scents brushes, really good for applying product into the crease when you want it to be, defined but also blended. Because the bristles are quite long, it also helps, blend it out. It's not too defined. Whereas the pencil brush, the smaller one, that is also good for the same things, but I use this in areas where I'm not too bothered with the blending. So the outer corner, the under eye, I'll even use this for highlight, and yeah, these are both really great brushes. Then we have the 232 classic shader brush. So this is just, like an all over brush, which I just use all over the lid. I'll spray it with water and I'll use it with a shimmery eyeshadow and apply that to the base, and it gives you a really nice effect. And then we have the 238, the precise shader, which is just another one of these mini eyeshadow brushes that almost is like a lip brush, but I use this the same way I use the other mini brushes in the highlighting areas, or if I'm doing a look where, say I'm doing a cut crease with a strip of colour and then I'm carving that out again, I'll use this to apply the strip of colour so I can get it in that one little spot that I want it. And then we have the 235 contour shader. Really the only time I'll use this is under the eyes, and I like this brush because if you're doing multiple colours under the eyes, say you're doing purple blended to pink blended to yellow, this is really good to get those little, you only want to have a little bit of each colour, but it can be hard to apply. So this is really handy because it's nice and thin, if you can see, but it's also really fluffy. So I love that brush. And to top it all off, the brush set comes with a cute little bag, which I love. You can keep your brushes in there. When I was studying, I used to use this as my pencil case, and when comparing it to other brush sets that I've seen, it's actually very reasonably priced. So I got these from Sephora. These are exclusive to Sephora, this, you know, type. Obviously you can get different Zoeva brush sets, but this particular one is exclusive to Sephora. They are 158 New Zealand dollars, so I'm not sure what that is in America. I'm not really going to bother looking it up. I'm just going to keep my prices local for me because I am a New Zealander. So yeah, I would highly recommend these brushes and any Zoeva brushes. And so you can get them in the set, but you can also buy Zoeva brushes individually, and they range in price from like $15 to $30, maybe even $40. So that's why I find that buying the set is a bit more better value than if you were to buy them separately. But if there is just one brush that you see from the set that you really want, then you don't have to spend the whole $160. You can just buy the one brush. I got these brushes in 2016, so I've had these for 4 years and they're still amazing. The only thing that I would suggest is that when you need to clean these brushes, I wouldn't use an alcohol-based cleaner, because the fact that it's natural hair, it makes them go all frizzy. So definitely would recommend using a soap or I use baby shampoo to clean mine, and mine are still obviously quite nice and smooth. So also another thing that I use to clean my brushes, particularly these brushes, because they do have the white hairs. If I find that I can't get the colour out just by using the baby shampoo, then I'll go and rub it on some Sard Wonder Soap and I'll let it sit, and that's how I keep the brushes nice and white. Okay, moving on to the last set, and then I'll just go over a few individual brushes. These brushes are from Exo Beauty. They are the vegan, what are they? The 12-piece vegan rose gold brush set. And obviously Exo Beauty is a New Zealand brand, so I love supporting New Zealand businesses. I did get these brushes for free. If you don't know already, shameless self-promo, I did some work with Exo Beauty and created some content for their website. So if you go onto exobeautyshop.com and you look at all their lashes, there will be a picture of my eyes under each lash style. So that's quite cool, and they gave me some free brushes, which I love. But I'm not just saying that because I've worked with Exo Beauty. I have been using their brushes for a couple years now. I used them when I was in makeup school. My school used these brushes, so I have had a bit of experience using these brushes. So I do like to use all of them, but there are 10 out of the 12 that I use the most. So we have the powder brush, which I use for all over powder foundation and to flick off my setting powder for my highlighting. The Shimmer Tulip brush, which I think is supposed to be for highlighter, but I use this for my bronzer because it gets right in there. It's super fluffy and soft, and it doesn't like wipe off my foundation, which some like harder brushes will do and create like little spots everywhere. So the Exo Beauty brushes are very soft, the face ones anyway. Then we have the dual paddle brush, which is half foundation, half concealer, and I don't often use the foundation brush side because I don't really use like these type of foundation brushes, but when I do, I use it to apply my primer or a moisturizer, just so that I can get like an even coverage. But I do use the concealer end a lot to carve out my eyebrows because it's nice and thin, so you're going to get like a really defined line. And then obviously I'll blend it out using my concealer buffer brush. Then we have the eyebrow groomer dual-ended one, and so obviously you use the spool leaf to groom your brows, and then I use this end to apply my eyebrow pomade. You could use it for powder products for your eyebrows as well, but I use a pomade. And this one is nice and thin as well. You get a really defined edge and a really sharp little tail of your brow. Then we have the eyeliner brush, which is self-explanatory. I use for eyeliner, but I don't really use a gel eyeliner for the top of my eyes. I use it for applying into my waterline when I want to add in some gel color. We have the eyeshadow brush. That's all it says, just says eyeshadow. I don't use it for eyeshadow. It's quite hard, so I use this for my eyeshadow base, and I just pat it onto the eyelid like so. and that helps get a nice thick even coverage instead of like wiping where you would just create streaks. So that's what I use that brush for. And then we have the pencil brush, which I've already talked about how I like to use pencil brushes. So I really like this one because it's very small, so you can get very defined. I can use this for my highlighter and for little defined areas, like the same way I would use the mini little eyeshadow brushes that I have. We have the angled eyeshadow brush, which I use for my under eyes, just like the other angled brushes. And then we have these two blending brushes. So we have longer, fluffier one, and then the shorter, more dense one. And these brushes are quite firm. They're not like as soft and like bendable, if that makes sense, as the Zoeva brushes. So I don't often use these for blending my eyeshadow because it's quite firm but also quite fluffy. So I'll use it to apply if I want to apply eyeshadow and keep the edges blended, but then I'll go in with one of my Zoeva blending brushes and use that to blend it out properly, because I don't find that these blend too well just due to how like firm they are. But all round they are a really good set of brushes. You can get these on exobeautyshop.com. These are 165 New Zealand dollars. So these are more expensive than the Zoeva brushes, although if you are looking for a vegan brush set, they're a really good option. Instead of spending the $165 on the Exo Beauty brushes, I would buy the Zoeva brushes instead. But I do really love the face brushes. If you were looking for a set of face brushes, then I would highly recommend picking yourself up some Exo Beauty brushes. I think that'd be my second favourite out of my sets. Wow, I feel like I'm talking so much and like not breathing properly. So those are all of these sets that I like done. And now I'm just going to go over, I've got 4 individual brushes that are so great that I just had to go and buy the individual ones because I wanted those particular ones. So we'll start off with the Morphe M451, which is the detailed highlighter brush. It's 13 Australian dollars. Morphe doesn't have a New Zealand website, so they just use Australian dollars. So obviously I use this for my highlighter, and you can swirl it around and get the edges nice and blended so that you don't have such a band of highlighter. And for $13, I would highly recommend picking yourself up one of these. Obviously it'll be cheaper in America because the dollar is stronger there. But if you're comparing it to New Zealand dollars, let's see, on today's date, 1 Australian dollar equals 1.06 New Zealand dollars. So they're pretty much the same. So $13, I love this brush. I use it every single time I highlight. And yeah, it's amazing. It's super soft, super fluffy. It is synthetic hair, but it doesn't have that kind of plasticky feel to it. So I love that brush. Then we have the Sigma E30 which is the tapered blending brush, which is a nice small blending brush, but it's nice and long, so you're going to get that good, you know, swirly blend going on. I'll show you compared to another blending brush just the difference in size. So if you're just doing like regular eyeshadow looks, like an everyday look like this, it's probably not necessary to use one of these brushes. But if you're going to be doing more detailed or more, you know, a bit more complicated looks, and you need to get just one color blended in one particular area, then this is really good because you can pack on the eyeshadow, but you can get the edges nice and blended instead of having that little line that you can then have to try and blend out using another brush. So this is definitely one of my favorites. I'm actually kind of annoyed at myself for not buying more when I did buy this one, but what can you do? I'm not going to order more because then I have to pay for more shipping. So the Sigma E30 brush you can get off of Sephora, and it is 31 New Zealand dollars. It's made from synthetic fibers, so it is vegan. I'm sure you can get this brush cheaper too if you buy directly from Sigma, but I think that the shipping to New Zealand is quite expensive, so you're probably better off buying from Sephora. Okay, this next brush has got to be one of my favorites. I don't know, it's hard to pick a favorite because they're for different uses, but this is my favorite, absolute favorite brush for doing cut creases. So it's the Inglot 22T brush, and as you can see it has the long bristles, but it's also very flat and thin. Look at that, it's like paper thin at the ends. So that is really amazing for doing your cut crease, and you know, because it's so thin, when you squash it together it's nice and flat, and it's always going to be round. Like some other concealer brushes, like, let me just show you this one for an example. Can you see how it's got like little bumps at the top? It's not fully round. So that's what I love about this Inglot brush, is that it's fully round, it's nice and flat, and it's, you can tap it on to tap on the base as well. Highly, highly, highly recommend that one. Okay, last but not least, it is the brush that I use for my foundation every time I do my foundation. It's the Real Techniques Oval Foundation Brush. There's not even any point doing this. Real Techniques Oval Foundation Brush. As you can see, it is an oval and it's really, really densely packed. Like, there's all these little different individual hairs, and what I love about this brush is that you can really get in there and buff it in, and it's so big that all it takes is like 2 seconds to do your foundation per section. It's super soft when it's like clean. If you do use it a lot without washing it, it will get caked up and be, you know, a bit harder and stiffer. So you do need to regularly clean this brush. Well, I do clean this brush like once a week, because if you clean it too often, then it's going to soak up a lot of foundation. So I just kind of leave it to have a little bit of foundation in there up until it starts getting, you know, kind of stiff and hard to apply. It's made from synthetic fibre, so it is vegan. I got this from Farmers in New Zealand, but I couldn't find it on their website, so I had to go onto adorebeauty.co.nz, and there it was $40.50 New Zealand dollars. So this is probably the most expensive brush I've ever bought, and I did kind of like have a little bit of buyer's remorse after I bought it. I was like, wow, I can't believe I just wasted $40, and I wasn't sure if I liked it, but I've had it for like a year and a half now, and I just keep going back to it, and I prefer this over a beauty blender. Because the bristles are so densely packed, it also means that you don't really get a streaky finish with your foundation, so it does live up to its name, which is the Blend and Blur Oval Foundation Brush. It really does blend and blur. So that brings us to the end of my favorite brushes. I hope this helped you guys in some way. I hope I wasn't talking too fast and the numbers kind of confused you, because I know that I can get a bit confused, like when people just start yelling like M551, E30 I'm like, what? Oh, I don't know what that is. So I will list all of the details in the description below from all the brushes. I'll pop some links there so you can find them for yourselves. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Do you use any of these brushes? What do you think of them? I'd love to hear your guys' experience, and I'm very interested to have a little bit of a discussion about that. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. If you did, then please thumbs up and subscribe, and tick that little bell button so you can get notified every time I post a new video. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you on the next one.